So far in this series of Panchakalakriya, I've covered the first two steps. If this is the first time you're watching this video, I would suggest that you want to check out the other two before watching this one. Now in this video, we move on to the third step. Some of you may be thinking, why not I just share all the 5 videos or the 5 steps at once versus doing it individually each week? There is a reason to it. Allow me to indulge a minute or two on my observations and learnings from spending several years now in spreading the message of spirituality, the Gita and the Upanishad, including my own learning and my own journey. What I have found over the years is that there are many individuals who are familiar with a lot of spiritual topics, traditions, and practices, but unfortunately struggle to put them in practice. It's like when someone says they know all the verses of the Gita, but they still see their life with challenges, concerns about the future, subconscious fear, and sometimes blind superstition. Then the individual should seriously do a self-reflection and ask themselves, do they really know the Gita? My observation over the years is that this happens because we as individuals do not take the time to imbibe or embed the learning of a scripture like the Gita. And for you to embed the learning, the teachings in the first place have to be authentic and true to the source of the message. With the flood of information, YouTube, Facebook, and so many other platforms, there is no dearth of messages or opinionated views. If your intention is to really embed and adopt the messages in your daily life, then you need to take the ones that are true to the source and embed them, as they say, in bite-sized chunks. This is precisely my intention through Ask Krishna and why I started this channel. Also the reason why I'm doing only one video per week on the Panchakalakriya. Because it's not just knowing about the 5 steps, but it is putting them in practice. Thank you for allowing me to share my feelings and thoughts a bit. I know I had to vent that out. Now let us get back to the topic and look at the step number 3 of the Panchakalakriya. iJyA, or the third step in the Panchakalakriya, is the act of actual worship, usually to an external form of deity. By the way, the root of the word is from yaj, or worshipping. Worship, when done to an external deity, involves an external action. But in reality, worship is not an action, but it should be being or becoming. What do I mean by that? When you do an external action of worship, you have 2 choices. You can be focused only on the ritual aspect of it and follow a sequence, or you can be doing the ritual aspect but also get immersed in the experience of it. It is hard for me to explain this, since experiences cannot be explained, but they have to be felt. But let me try by giving you an analogy. Think that you are in a rose garden with beautiful rose bushes around you. Being immersed means to feel the fragrance and not just look at the physical rose. It is to take in the beautiful colors and feel it. It is to take in the amazing sight of the rose garden with the different variations. You're looking at the rose for sure. But when you go beyond just looking at the rose, you're experiencing it and immersing in it. Worshipping is like that. It's an experience. The act of worship or the ritual associated are like the roses. But the actual worship is when you immerse yourself or you're immersed in the fragrance and connect with the deity you're worshipping. You can maximize 5 different ways to help you with a connection or actual worship or iJyA. These follow the prep you did in the first 2 steps, Abhigamana and Upadana. Of course, they're all part of the Panchakalakriya, as you know. The first way for iJyA, meaning getting immersed, is also called mantrasana. Mantra, invocation. Here the worship is through invocation to connect with the deity. My favorite one is from the scripture that has the 1,000 names of the deity, the Vishnu Sahasranama. Here Vishnu means the divinity that pervades and not a person. The meaning of this verse is, I meditate on the all-pervading, the source of illumination of this universe and life itself, that extends in all the 4 directions and does with the calmness and the soothing grace like the moon. By becoming aware and realizing this divinity, I can be prepared and overcome the challenges of the present and the oncoming moments. If you find it hard to recite this verse that I have pasted here, then all you need to do is recite Om Tat Sat. I know I need to do a video on Om Tat Sat. For sure, that will be my next one after I complete the series on Panchakalakriya. In this first way of worship, it is key to recognize the meaning of the invocation as I have laid it out and immerse in it, and not so much about memorizing the verse. That for you is the first way of iJyA or worship. In the second way of iJyA, also called snanasana, you will reach out to a glass or cup of water that you had it ready during the upadana or the second step of Panchakalakriya and offer it to the deity. A symbolic pouring of a drop of water on the deity or in the front would suffice. Symbolically, it has 2 meanings. One is a ceremonial bath to a revered guest coming to your home, and the second meaning is a cleansing of your own self and to tackle the day ahead of you in a cleansed, truthful and non-judgmental manner. Now we move on to the third way of iJyA or alankarasana. This is where you decorate the deity. This is done by the flower you had made ready as part of the upadana phase, and light the lamp. Offer the flower to the deity to symbolically represent the honoring of a revered guest with clothing. And the other symbolic meaning is that you are now dressed to take on the day with the light of knowledge gained through the invocations of stage 1 and stage 2, or way 1 and way 2, mantrasana and snanasana. Let's come to the fourth way. In the fourth way, you offer a fruit or any food items that you kept ready as part of the upadana phase. The food offering again represents feeding a revered guest, or a symbolic representation that even the food you consume is part of the overall divinity and the universe. And offering it here in this stage represents a gratitude called naivedyam. And only after offering it you would consume. The food that you consume is called prasadam. You could see how all these steps relate to the previous upadana and abhigamana. In the last and the fifth way of iJyA, you bring an end to the worship ritual by an invocation. The verse to be used in this case is from Gita chapter 18 verse 66, meaning, I offer up everything and surrender it all to you, the divine. I am after all a custodian and not the owner. How can I claim ownership when it was not mine to begin with? The only thing that matters to me is this worship of being immersed singularly and completely in you, O my Lord, the Supreme Energy, which is now represented in front of me as a deity. That is the fifth way. Once you complete all the 5 ways of iJyA, bow down with reverence to the deity and get ready to take on the day. The balance and equanimity this type of worship brings in your life is an experience to relish. I'm speaking by experience. You'll be enjoying the fragrance of the roses and not just the rose. You'll be bestowed with peace, not because you asked for it, not because somebody promised you, but because through the worship you allowed yourself to be part of divinity. This is the approach that connects the steps once of Abhigamana and Upadana to actual worship, iJyA, or the third step. And the 5 ways of iJyA prepare you for the day. The remaining 2 steps of the Panchakalakriya help you develop your spiritual muscle. The spiritual muscle to sustain you with this peace and equanimity and the strength to face on the challenges of the day. That's what they will help you sustain it. The first 3 helped you be prepared for it, but then you need something to sustain you. And that's what the 4th and the 5th step will be. I will cover that in the next video. And till then, stay blessed. I will talk to you soon.